Millionaire woman saved from accident by homeless man. Her reward changes his life forever. Isabella Martinez stands on the corner of 5th Avenue and 42nd Street. Her attention completely absorbed by the urgent phone call that could determine the fate of her pharmaceutical company's latest breakthrough. At 38, she built Martinez Biotech into a $300 million empire, specializing in innovative treatments for rare diseases. Today's call concerns FDA approval for a medication that could transform treatment for childhood leukemia, a project that represents 5 years of research and her company's entire future. The December afternoon in Manhattan carries the familiar chaos of the holiday shopping season. Pedestrians weave around each other with practiced efficiency. Yellow taxis honk through gridlock traffic, and street vendors call out their wares above the urban symphony. Isabella barely notices the controlled pandemonium surrounding her, her focus entirely consumed by regulatory details and clinical trial data flowing through her phone. Across the street, Thomas Walker observes the bustling intersection from his position near the subway entrance. At 54, Thomas has been homeless for 18 months, his life derailed by a combination of job loss, medical bankruptcy, and a series of unfortunate decisions that led him from middle-class stability to sleeping in shelters and doorways. His clothes are layered against the cold, a worn military surplus jacket over a faded sweater, boots that have seen better decades, and a knit cap that covers graying hair he can no longer afford to maintain properly. But Thomas's circumstances haven't diminished his fundamental nature. 26 years as a construction foreman taught him to notice details others miss, to anticipate problems before they become disasters, and to act decisively when safety is at stake. Even in his current situation, these instincts remain sharp and reliable. As Isabella paces while discussing clinical protocols, Thomas notices what she cannot: a delivery truck approaching the intersection with obvious brake problems. The driver pumps his brakes frantically, his vehicle sliding on the thin layer of ice that has formed in the shadows between buildings. The truck is heading directly toward the corner where Isabella stands, completely unaware of the approaching danger. Thomas sees the accident developing in slow motion, the truck's inability to stop, Isabella's position directly in its path, and the precious seconds that separate her from catastrophe. Without hesitation, Thomas abandons his small collection of belongings and sprints into the street. The collision of worlds happens in an instant. Thomas reaches Isabella just as the truck mounts the sidewalk, his tackle sending both of them rolling away from the point of impact. The truck crashes into the building's facade, its cargo of office supplies scattering across the sidewalk where Isabella had been standing moments before. Isabella finds herself on the ground, her expensive coat torn and her phone shattered, but miraculously unharmed. Above her, Thomas pushes himself up slowly, his movements careful as he assesses whether either of them sustained serious injuries. His face shows the weathered features of someone who has lived rough, but his eyes reflect genuine concern for her well-being rather than any expectation of reward. The aftermath of the near-miss creates the typical urban chaos: police sirens, gathering crowds, paramedics checking for injuries, and traffic backing up for blocks. But Isabella's attention focuses entirely on the man who literally threw himself into danger to save her life. As Thomas helps her to her feet, she notices the details that reveal his story: calloused hands that speak of years of manual labor, clothes that are clean but worn, and the careful dignity of someone maintaining self-respect despite difficult circumstances. Thomas asks if Isabella is hurt, his voice carrying the rough edges of someone who has been living outdoors but retaining the courteous manner of his former life. When she assures him she's uninjured, he simply nods and begins to gather his scattered belongings: a backpack containing what appears to be all his worldly possessions, a thermos, and a paperback book so worn its title is barely visible. Isabella realizes that Thomas saved her life and is now preparing to disappear back into the anonymity of the streets without expecting anything in return. The selflessness of his action, risking his own safety for a complete stranger, stands in stark contrast to the calculated relationships that dominate her business world. As paramedics insist on checking both of them for injuries, Isabella learns fragments of Thomas's story. He mentions being between jobs, sleeping at the shelter on East 30th Street when beds are available, spending his days looking for work or staying warm in public libraries. His manner suggests education and work experience, but he doesn't elaborate on how he arrived at his current circumstances. What strikes Isabella most profoundly is Thomas's complete lack of self-pity or expectation. He doesn't mention his heroism, doesn't suggest that saving her life entitles him to anything, and appears genuinely uncomfortable when bystanders praise his quick thinking. His concern remains focused on ensuring Isabella suffered no delayed injuries from their collision. When the police finish their preliminary report and the scene begins to clear, Isabella faces a moment that will define both their futures. Thomas prepares to leave, wishing her well and expressing gratitude that she wasn't seriously hurt. But Isabella cannot simply return to her privileged life, knowing that the man who saved her will return to sleeping in doorways and searching garbage cans for meals. Isabella asks Thomas to wait, explaining that she owes him far more than a simple thank you. She offers immediate compensation money for a hotel room, meals, clothing, but Thomas politely declines. He explains that he helped because it was the right thing to do, not because he expected payment. His refusal reveals a pride and integrity that Isabella's wealth cannot simply purchase. But Isabella persists, recognizing that Thomas's circumstances represent a tragic waste of obvious intelligence and capability. She asks about his background, his skills, his dreams for rebuilding his life. Through gentle questioning, she learns that Thomas was a construction supervisor who lost everything when medical bills from his late wife's cancer treatment consumed their savings and forced them into bankruptcy. Thomas describes his descent from middle-class stability with the matter-of-fact tone of someone who has accepted his circumstances without surrendering his dignity. He speaks of his late wife Maria with evident love, explaining how her medical needs became his sole focus during her final years. After her death, grief and financial ruin combined to destroy his ability to maintain employment or housing. Isabella recognizes in Thomas's story the same determination that built her pharmaceutical empire, the willingness to sacrifice everything for someone else's well-being. His devotion to his wife mirrors her own commitment to developing treatments for diseases that affect families like Thomas and Maria. Once were. As they stand on the now quiet street corner, Isabella makes a decision that surprises even herself. Rather than offering Thomas charity, she proposes something far more meaningful, an opportunity to rebuild his life through honest work and genuine partnership. Isabella explains that her company is expanding its facilities, requiring construction management for a new research laboratory in New Jersey. The project needs someone with Thomas's experience and integrity to oversee contractors and ensure quality construction. She offers him not just a job, but the chance to contribute to medical research that could prevent other families from suffering the way he and Maria did. Thomas's initial response reveals both hope and caution. His experience with broken promises and shattered expectations makes him wary of offers that seem too good to be true. But Isabella's sincerity and her obvious understanding of loss and dedication convince him that her proposal represents genuine opportunity rather than pity. Chapter ends with Isabella providing Thomas with her business card and arranging to meet him the following morning at her office. She ensures he has a hotel room for the night and advances him enough money for appropriate clothing for their meeting. But more importantly, she makes clear that her offer stems from recognizing his capabilities and character, not from obligation. For saving her life. As they part ways, both Isabella and Thomas understand that this chance encounter has created possibilities neither anticipated. Isabella has found someone whose integrity and experience could genuinely benefit her company, while Thomas has discovered that his lowest moment might actually be the beginning of his redemption. Thomas walks toward his first hotel room in 18 months, carrying not just the promise of employment, but the restoration of purpose and dignity. Isabella returns to her penthouse apartment with a new perspective on the random nature of both catastrophe and salvation, recognizing that sometimes the most valuable people are found in the most unexpected circumstances. The next morning, Thomas stands outside the gleaming Manhattan headquarters of Martinez Biotech, wearing the first new clothes he's owned in nearly 2 years. The navy suit Isabella's assistant helped him select fits perfectly, but Thomas feels the weight of imposter syndrome as he prepares to enter a world he left behind when his life collapsed 18 months ago. Isabella greets Thomas personally in her office, a gesture that doesn't go unnoticed by her staff. Her corner office overlooks Central Park, its floor-to-ceiling windows framing a view that represents the pinnacle of corporate success. But Isabella's attention focuses entirely on Thomas, observing how he carries himself with renewed dignity despite obvious nervousness about returning to professional life. The conversation reveals the depth of Thomas's construction expertise and his understanding of complex project management. Isabella learns that before his personal crisis, Thomas supervised the construction of hospitals, research facilities, and educational buildings throughout the Northeast. His portfolio includes projects remarkably similar to the research laboratory Martinez Biotech plans to build. More importantly, Thomas demonstrates genuine interest in the company's mission. He asks thoughtful questions about the laboratory's intended research, the specialized requirements for pharmaceutical development, and the safety protocols necessary for handling experimental treatments. His questions reveal someone who understands that construction serves larger purposes beyond simply assembling buildings. Isabella explains the scope of the New Jersey project, $50 million facility that will house research teams developing treatments for pediatric cancers, rare genetic disorders. The laboratory requires precise environmental controls, specialized ventilation systems, and security measures that protect both valuable research and public safety. Thomas's response to the project details demonstrates both his technical competence and his emotional connection to the work. He speaks about Maria's treatment at Memorial Sloan Kettering, his observations of how facility design affects patient comfort and staff efficiency, and his understanding of the critical importance of proper construction in medical environments. As their meeting progresses, Isabella realizes that hiring Thomas represents more than giving someone a second chance. It's recognizing that his personal experience with the medical crisis provides insights that purely technical expertise cannot replicate. His intimate understanding of how healthcare systems impact families makes him uniquely qualified to oversee construction that serves similar purposes. Isabella offers Thomas the position of construction project manager with a salary that will restore his middle-class lifestyle and benefits that include healthcare, retirement contributions, and performance bonuses tied to project milestones. But beyond the financial package, she provides something even more valuable: genuine respect for his abilities and trust in his judgment. Thomas accepts the position with gratitude that extends far beyond professional opportunity. Isabella's faith in his capabilities represents the first time in 18 months that someone has seen him as more than his current circumstances, recognizing the person he was and could become again rather than simply the homeless man he temporarily became. Project launch reveals Thomas's exceptional abilities and the wisdom of Isabella's decision. His experience with similar facilities allows him to identify potential problems before they become costly delays. His relationships with subcontractors, many of whom remember his reputation from previous projects, ensure quality work and competitive pricing. But Thomas brings more than technical expertise to the project. His recent experience with loss and struggle creates empathy that transforms how he manages workers and addresses challenges. He implements programs that provide temporary workers with job training opportunities, understanding that many people are closer to homelessness than they realize. Isabella observes Thomas's management style and recognizes leadership qualities that extend beyond construction oversight. He treats every worker with dignity regardless of their position, resolves conflicts through patient communication rather than authoritarian demands, and maintains project standards without creating unnecessarily stressful working conditions. As construction progresses, Isabella and Thomas develop a professional partnership that evolves into genuine friendship. Their shared commitment to the laboratory's mission creates a bond that transcends their employer-employee relationship. Thomas's insights about facility design, based on his experience as a patient advocate, enhance Isabella's understanding of how research environments can better serve their ultimate purpose. The most profound moment of their collaboration comes when Thomas suggests modifications to the laboratory's family consultation areas. Drawing from his experience accompanying Maria through countless medical appointments, he recommends design changes that provide privacy for difficult conversations while maintaining accessibility for families dealing with childhood illnesses. Isabella realizes that Thomas's suggestions represent exactly the kind of patient-centered thinking that distinguishes truly innovative medical facilities from merely functional ones. His recommendations are implemented, adding significant value to the project and demonstrating how personal experience can enhance professional expertise. 6 months into construction, the laboratory project became a model for pharmaceutical facility development. Industry publications feature articles about the innovative design elements that Thomas proposed, while construction trade magazines highlight his management techniques and worker development programs. But Thomas's transformation extends beyond professional success. The steady income and purposeful work have restored not just his financial stability, but his sense of identity and self-worth. He moves from temporary housing into a modest apartment, reconnects with estranged family members, and begins volunteering with organizations that support homeless individuals transitioning back to employment. Isabella observes Thomas's personal growth with satisfaction that extends beyond successful project management. She recognizes that her decision to offer him opportunity rather than charity created outcomes that benefit everyone involved. Thomas regained his career, the company gained exceptional leadership, and the broader community benefited from innovative facility design. The laboratory's completion is celebrated with a ribbon-cutting ceremony attended by medical researchers, pharmaceutical industry leaders, and local officials. But for Isabella and Thomas, the ceremony represents something more personal: proof that second chances, when offered with genuine respect and clear expectations, can create extraordinary results. During the ceremony, Isabella publicly acknowledges Thomas's contributions to the project, emphasizing how his unique perspective and exceptional management created a facility that will serve medical research for decades. Her recognition transforms Thomas from a formerly homeless man who received charity into a respected professional whose expertise enhanced an important medical facility. Thomas's speech at the ceremony focuses not on his personal journey, but on the collaborative effort that created a laboratory designed to develop treatments for families facing medical crises similar to what he and Maria experienced. His remarks demonstrate how personal tragedy can be transformed into purposeful contribution when combined with genuine opportunity. The story concludes with Isabella offering Thomas a permanent position as Director of Facilities Development for Martinez Biotech, responsible for overseeing construction of research facilities nationwide. The promotion represents not just career advancement, but recognition that his unique combination of technical expertise and empathetic understanding creates exceptional value for medical facility development.
Thank you for watching this story unfold with us here on M&A The Story Unfolds. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new tale. We'd love to know where you're watching. Leave a comment below and tell us what part of the world you're joining us from. Your support means everything. See you in the next story.